Satan took it out of context too, and not that sometimes we like to do that. We take things out of context. So while you study the Bible, look at the pretext, and then the context, and then the post-text of the text. Don't just take it out of context. Okay, so after the second one, which also obviously didn't work, he said now that he took him, he took him to a high mountain to weaken him cry, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. Another translation will say, and their glory. And their glory. And he said that all this I will give you, he said, if you bow down and worship me. Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. The devil left him, and angels came and attended him. This should teach you something. When the enemy comes once, the enemy can come in a form of anybody, or in any form, any opportunity, any bad report, in any way. So there can be a first attempt. At that point, your faith is so high, you will say, no, I'm not going to take it. The second time may be much more attractive, because he was saying that he was going to, this is what God has said. So he presented what God has said to him in a different way, in a cunning way, that he should tempt God. And he said no. And then the third time, a much more, attractive way. You know that these kingdoms were created by God, but you are saying you will give it to me. Quatrequa. You want to give what you don't have? So at this point, and that you should worship, how can you worship a creation and not worship the creator? That is some of the mistakes that some of us make. We worship the creator, the creation, rather than the creator. We worship the creation rather than the creator. And the enemy can come in the form of anybody. Look at Job. When Job had his own crisis, the enemy worked through his wife to tempt him, and said that, curse God, he has afflicted you with this. But know this, she didn't know the behind the scene, what had ensued between God and Satan. So sometimes you don't know the plan, God's plan. You don't know the entirety of it. You don't know what has, the conversation that has gone ahead of you, and how God is fighting and rooting for you. And then the slightest thing, we give up. We want to give up. We want to do this. We want to do that. Nothing is perfect, but you have a perfect God who can perfect all things. And we are all working towards becoming more like Jesus Christ and being perfected in him, just as everything that concerns us will be perfected. So let's trust God.
Work on yourself daily. Your story's far from done. The best is yet to come.